Welcome again. This is the virtual open day session for applicants that are looking to apply for the 2026/2027 academic year for the Designing Responsible Natural Language Processing Centre for Doctoral Training. Just to say about what we're going to do in the presentation. So we're going to say a little bit about ourselves, and everyone that's on the screen here will introduce themselves in just a moment. We're going to say a little bit about what the CDT, that's the acronym for the Centre for Doctoral Training, is about and what it focuses on. And we're going to try and give you all a sense of what a CDT PhD experience is like and how that's different from a traditional PhD. And we'll also outline some of the benefits that come with the CDT studentship. What we're not going to do is we're not going to go through the application process in great detail. We won't be able to give you any advice on individual application ideas in this session either. There's a lot of material though on our website, so please do take a look at that. And then from experience of previous years, we've got 70 people on this call at the moment. It's probably quite unlikely we're going to answer every single question, but we will do our best when we get there. So I should actually introduce myself. So I'm John Vines. I'm a professor in the School of Informatics at the University of Edinburgh. I'm also the director of the Centre for Doctoral Training, and I'm also the interim training director as well, which means I'm responsible for the delivery of the overall training program and the courses which students take as part of the CDT. And I'm really pleased to be joined by several other team members as well today, who I'm just going to quickly ask to introduce themselves. Mirella, would you like to go first?
Sure. Hi, I am also a professor here at the School of Informatics, and my research area is NLP. And I used to do NLP before it was popular and hot and the next big thing that everybody wants to study. And I'm so happy that, I don't have to explain to anyone anymore what my research area is. I am a co-director at the CDT and recruitment lead, as it says on the slide. And this means that I'm the first point of contact who will receive your applications and manage, the whole distribution, review, and whatnot. And hopefully I will be in the very pleasant position to welcome you when you come and study here in the very long future. Okay, Stefania, I'm passing on to you.
Hello, my name is Stefania. I am the CDT manager for the program. I have a research background. I also have a PhD, so hopefully that means that I know what you would be going through should you be successful to join us. I am very passionate, and the whole team is very passionate to support our doctoral students. So I am very excited to be able to have a chat with all of you today and provide information on the CDT and hopefully support your applications in the future and welcome you to the program. So I think now it's going to be a current student from the program, which is Alex.
I don't have as long of a title as everyone else because I just got here a couple months ago, but hopefully what little I have to say will be enough. But yeah, I'm Alex. I'm a first year PhD. I'm mostly doing courses right now, which we'll talk a bit about soon. But my research is going to be centering around digital immortality technologies. But we'll see what happens from there. I won't say anything else because I don't want to spoil anything. But it's lovely to see you all.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, and thanks. It's really great in particular to have you with us, Alex. I think applicants always love to hear the stories and the experiences from other students that have gone through the experience the year before. We have a much wider team as well. I won't go through everyone's names here, but we just use this to stress that there is a bigger team behind the CDT than what appears on these webinars, and in particular, it's a team that has a whole spectrum of different types of expertise and are based in different schools at the University of Edinburgh, have different perspectives on NLP and related application spaces. And we are really, really strongly encouraging applicants for this programme from a wide variety of disciplines. In fact, we have no remit over what disciplines are eligible or not eligible. But we have a number of core schools, which are the School of Informatics, Edinburgh College of Art, the Language School and Edinburgh Law School, which are kind of the key contributors to the program. We're going to say a little bit now about what the background and backdrop of the CDT is and what motivates it. And I'm going to ask Mirella to take control of the slides for a few moments.
Sure.
Well,
you realize
ask me to move them along.
Slide. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So let us tell you a little bit about, the academic part and what the CDT will actually cover and what we expect people to be interested in. So as a CDT, it focuses, of course, on training you guys. And by training, we mean we want to build and educate the next generation of researchers and innovators. And the remit of the CDT is specific. We want to design responsible and trustworthy natural language processing systems. And I'll explain what that is. Next slide, please. Okay, perfect. So here we have this lovely bold-faced, and there is a reason why it is bold-faced. So there is a lot of talk in the media, in academic circles about AI in general. We don't do general AI. We do AI focused on natural language processing. And you may wonder what we mean by natural language processing. And I think the next slide has a definition. So again, natural language processing is very broad. And it's basically systems that use machine learning to perform things with language. This is the technical definition, but it's a lot more than that. So it encompasses large language models, which would be the technology that most people use to deal with natural language processing, but it also can be recommender systems. It can be generative AI, any sort of medium that you use through language to access other people. It can be text to image, it can be multimodal, speech, of course, translation technology. So this is the technology part, but of course we are interested in how this technology interacts in the world. Next slide, please. Okay, so there's these other two very important bold-faced things here, which is the design and the trustworthy. And I'll explain what this means. So first of all, we're interested in designing models that achieve things, but also designing interfaces, designing systems that interact with humans. So it's not only I build a model, I put it out there, I let it do random things. We care about how you design it to interact with actual humans. And trustworthy is another important thing, which means we really care about how you design the technology so that it does what it tells you to do and it explains its decisions. Next slide, please. So again, this is what I just said. There's a focus on how we design, develop, and build these applications, and how we actually create them ourselves, or we can study how things that are out there. So for example, you take GPT or Gemini, what are the problems that arise when you use them with actual humans, with children or whatnot. And so there is a real focus on applications that are in the world, that are used by real people with real consequences. Next slide, please. Okay, I think I covered this point. We are interested in a responsible design. So, and I'll give you a flavor perhaps of the research that some of our students do. So if you're interested in designing systems, then the system ought to be explainable. It should say, these are my decisions and this is how I made them. Thank you. Another point is we're interested in interpretability. Can you interpret what the model is doing? So this is a list of currently examples of how NLP is not responsible. So these are well-known phenomena, the biases in the data, how it's gathered. Of course, if you take all of the internet and you train on it, there will be biases. People are not only beautiful and wonderful. It's a fallacy to believe that, you take everything and then the model is suddenly responsible. There is the black box nature I referred to. There is a social complexity that these models many groups and languages are underrepresented. And of course, there is this disconnect between the technical developments of the NLP systems and the regulatory frameworks. It's not like, the stuff has to be regulated. And usually I make this analogy: would you let nuclear science out there in the world and, you know, build these plants without regulating it? And it's the same with NLP systems that have real consequences for people. Next slide, please. Okay, so what are we looking for in the cohorts? So in the real world, and let's say you go to a company and pick your favorite company, Anthropic, Google, whatever, it doesn't matter. You don't have a person that does everything. You actually have teams of people responsible for creating products. So you would have your NLP team, you would have your machine learning team, your data science team, and these teams would work together and interface themselves with the product management team, the user experience, and then of course there would be the lawyers and the safety team. So there is multiple teams, and we view ourselves as training people to be incorporated in all of these bubbles that you see in the slide. And so the equivalent of this is going to be shown in the next slide. So if we take the real world and we mirror it into the expertise that we're looking for, so the students may have expertise in computer science and machine learning. In language sciences and linguistics, they care about language and how this surfaces itself in systems. And there's also the remit of information science and digital humanities. You know, we digitize all these things. Can we do it properly? What happens with manuscripts that are like in obscure languages? There's, of course, law, governance, and ethics. And finally, design and visualization. Design undercuts actually all of these, I would say. I think these are my slides. Can you, what's next?
Yeah, no, you're right. I
Yeah.
can pick up from here.
Okay, so John
Mirella.
will, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, but that's like a really great scene setting for sort of the bigger picture context of what our CDT is responding to. And yeah, and as Mirella says, very much going back to when I was describing kind of the outline of the different academics involved in running the CDT, we're very much trying to draw together people from these different disciplinary expertise. But we also know the biggest challenge is often getting this expertise to collaborate together and work with one another. And this is what we're trying to illustrate here, because it's kind of the expectation in industry and also in research these days that you are having different academic expertise and perspectives being able to work productively and constructively with one another. So our CDT environment tries to promote this right from the start. Just to say a little bit more, so we appreciate and value applicants that come from all different manners of disciplines. In the CDT itself, when we are asking for applicants to put in their applications, we ask them to kind of think about the different skills domains that they might want to align to. I'm not going to go through in detail here, but we have 5 skills domains that which we communicate on the website and in our materials. These are responsible NLP data and models, explainable NLP for users in the world, designing for human AI partnerships, governance and accountability, and co-creation and NLP futures. Now, when you apply for the CDT and also when you start your training, you say that you would like to be aligned with one of these skills domains, potentially as your primary area of inquiry. But also you can choose one or more secondary skill domains as well. And in applications, we ask for kind of engagement with a minimum of 2, I believe. Now, the primary skills domain, that might be the skills domain that you're most excited or interested in. It might be the one that's best aligned with your previous work that you've done, maybe your master's project or your undergraduate project or your professional role that you've done previously, or if you've got any research experience. This is likely going to become the narrow specialism that you focus in on over the course of your studies. Secondary domain might be somewhere which you've not really got much background experience or any expertise at all in, but it's where you want to kind of grow into. And this is where you might choose some courses that we provide in the CDT and at the university, where you kind of create some sort of foundational and fundamental skills in this particular space. So this is trying to give you a bit of breadth and range beyond just that narrow specialism. And it's that breadth and range which is particularly important in terms of creating future research and innovation leaders that kind of going to be shaping NLP developments going forward. And the whole point is that we do have these specialist courses that are available across each of these 5 different areas for students to take. And when you join the program, we undertake a process which we call a training needs assessment, where you basically evaluate the courses that are available across the university that align with the skills domains where you want to either make your primary focus or your secondary kind of area that you want to grow into. A big thing that we want to emphasize with the CDT is it's all about cohort-based PhD training. And this means it's very different from a traditional PhD in the UK. We have all of our wonderful second cohort on the screen here, of which Alex is a member of. We were able to get a photo of them all together to prove that they are a cohort and they do all exist in the same physical space sometimes together. But a lot of the time they spend themselves going away and doing courses in all other parts of the university as well. But the key thing is that the students do a number of credit-bearing courses, and a lot of these are taken together. So we have a number of mandatory courses which all of the students take together as a cohort. These are bespoke to the CDT. This is very different to a traditional PhD in the UK, where you don't necessarily take any credit-bearing courses at all. Normally, you just start doing your research from day one, and you're left to get on with it. And maybe you might take some courses, but you know, that's very much above and beyond you just starting to go on with your PhD. For us, we really want to kind of give the students a little bit of extra space and capacity to kind of learn about things that perhaps they weren't knowledgeable about when they started off their PhD journey. As part of those courses, we do a lot of team-based and collaborative projects. There's a big emphasis on peer support, not just within the cohort, so not just within the group of students that all start their studies at the same time, but also between cohorts as well. So we try to buddy new students up with existing students, where they can kind of share some of the experiences and learnings from doing their studies the years previously. And this is also a collective project. So we have a whole bunch of things that we're looking to do as part of the centre, which isn't just about the individual PhD projects that the students eventually do, but it's also about contributing to our wider understanding of what responsible NLP looks like in the future. So we're doing a whole bunch of things where we're trying to create codes and guidelines and different types of methods and toolkits around access to models and access to kind of design principles, which are going to be documented over time and hopefully shared publicly. And that's an ongoing project. We're not there yet, but we're just kicking it off over the next 12 months. And all of the students play an important role of contributing towards that through their research. Just to give you a sense of the diversity of projects that we have on the screen here, just got 6 of our current students. Those on the left are from the first cohort. Those on the right, including Alex, are from the kind of the new cohort, our second cohort. And this is really just to give you an illustration of the diversity of the different types of projects that our students are doing. We don't predetermine project topics for students to apply to. It is all driven by the students' curiosity and interests and the alignments with their proposed supervisors. So you can see there's quite a big spectrum of work that gets conducted. We've got Jinzomu, who's doing work around generative speech production. We've got Neil, who's looking at explainability and in particular mechanistic interpretability across a range of different models. We've got Jackie, who's working on low resource and minority languages. Got Alex, who's doing work around generative AI and the afterlife. We've got Benoit, who's looking at NLP in investment processes and in particular human AI teams and the human-computer interaction kind of thinking that needs to go into building those systems. We've got Morgan, who's actually our first part-time student, and is working in government in the AI unit at the same time as studying her PhD, and she's looking at NLP in public policy. So you get a sense here, we have a spectrum of projects which are more fundamentally technical and looking at kind of foundational work through to those that are more at the application end and maybe more closely engaging with end users. The CDT is different to other CDTs that we have at the University of Edinburgh, and in particular in our School of Informatics, in that the students are all based in the Edinburgh Futures Institute. So this is we say on the screen, brand new facility. I think we can still sort of say that. It's been open for just over 12 months now, which is focused on interdisciplinary research and industry engagement around socially inclusive and justice-oriented data and artificial intelligence. We are based in a physical space within EFI with some other centres that are focused on different elements of generative AI and responsible artificial intelligence practices. So the students really get a great opportunity of being not just co-located with their peers, but also co-located with researchers and postdocs and delivery teams that are working on programs which are kind of dealing with similar issues. And again, that kind of adds into this really rich and colourful environment that students get to benefit from, which is again very different from a traditional PhD where you might just be working in your supervisor's individual lab with your lab mates. We have a big emphasis on engagement with the public and doing outreach. So what you can see on the screen here are photos from the Edinburgh Science Festival, where the CDT had its own dedicated session this year. So the 11 students that were part of the first cohort all had interactive exhibits and posters that were publicly understandable about their projects. And we had somewhere in the region of 200 to 300 members of the public just pop by that session over the course of the day. And that's been really enriching to a lot of the students who actually, maybe when they started their studies, never thought they would actually do much public engagement work, but actually are now proactively trying to seek opportunities to do more of these types of activities as part of their research. We also do a lot of engagement with industry and partners as well. We have around 70 different partners that are collaborating with the CDT, and there's opportunities for students to do placements, to work with partners on some of the courses that we run as part of the CDT. The photos you can see on the screen here are from the annual Partners Summit, which we run jointly with the predecessor Natural Language Processing CDT, where we had about 120, 130 delegates come together to hear about the students' work and also to share insights from industry in terms of developments in that broad, responsible NLP space. So just give a bit more detail about the funding. So in case there's any ambiguity about this, by applying for the CDT, you're automatically applying for our funding. All CDTs come with a studentships, which is a stipend with a research training and support grant, and also waived tuition fees. So for the incoming cohort, this is a bit of a controversial and complicated thing to explain, but we are taking part in a UK government pilot program called Tech Expert. Now, this basically means that home fees applicants are eligible for an enhanced stipend of £31,000 per annum. This is on the basis that home fee students that have this enhanced stipend will also be doing a range of additional engagements to do with widening participation. And these are still being defined. This is very, very new, very, very raw. We are still making sense of it. And it is a pilot program that the UK government are kind of pushing. The reason why we're participating in it is because actually we think the widening participation elements of this program is really positive, and it's also really positive in general that that stipends have been increased But there are some things which there's some caveats that we have about that, and I won't go into the detail here, but we have a lot of information about this program and our position on it on the website. The main reason why we're having some sort of contentions around it is actually because, unfortunately, overseas fees students are not eligible for this additional funding. So the stipend rate for overseas fees is £21,000 a year. It'll be slightly higher than this, we think, actually, because inflation is going to go up, but we just don't know the precise details on this yet. But we are also exploring ways that we can provide a bit of additional support for incoming overseas fee students as well, acknowledging that there's this gap in funding because of the Tech Expert Scheme. And hopefully we'll publish more information about that sometime soon. We're still exploring it. But just to say, other studentship highlights, again, this is for all students, no matter their fee status. Every student gets funding for travel, which includes conferences, fieldworks and placements. It's approximately £17,000 per student. Oh, that's funny. It's gone the wrong way around. You get access to compute and cloud and prototyping facilities across the School of Informatics, across the Edinburgh International Data Facility and in the Futures Institute as well. There's funding for placements for students as well. So every student has about £8,000 to go on a placement and be embedded within a research lab, or to go and spend time at an industry or public sector organisation to carry on their research. Oh. We're just having a fire alarm test in our building, which is very poorly timed, which you probably can't hear because I think Microsoft Teams filters it out, but it's very, very loud in my office right now. Okay, and it stopped. And you also get access to innovation, entrepreneurship and impact training as well, should you want to do a trajectory after the PhD that's outside of traditional academia. So I'll wrap up in just a couple of moments to say something about the application timeline. So the deadline is the 7th of January. We might have an additional deadline as well for home fees applicants, but there's no guarantee about that. So if you are a home fee applicant, please do try to get in still for that 7th of January deadline. We'll have interviews between February and March. We hope to make most of our offers between mid-March and April next year. It says 2025 on the screen. Ignore that. That should be April 2026. It's just trying to test me. For non-UK students, there's quite a lot of work that we have to go through in terms of visa processing, and some applicants have to go through something which is called ATAS certification, which is a UK-specific government programme. So we try to make sure that those are all done by July, to make sure that planning for coming to Edinburgh can be done well in advance. And then we kick off the training from the 14th of September next year, which is when our Welcome Week starts. If you go to our website, we've got loads of material there. We've got an overview of the different documents that are needed for the application process. It's different from a normal PhD application, so please do check that carefully. We've got some guidance on what things to include to make a strong application. We've got more information about the structure of the program and the different types of courses you can take. We've got a detailed FAQ, and we've also got more webinars, which we have a bit more time scheduled for in November and December. So please do feel free to register for those as well if you still have questions after today.